Hello, FPL managers. Welcome back. This is the FPL Optimized podcast, and we are recording episode number 65. We're recording this one after one of the most low scoring and hence frustrating game weeks ever. But anyway, we'll have to cover it. I am Bas, the casual manager, and my co host is Sertalp, the data scientist. This is the podcast in which we combine analytics with the good old eye test. Data or grass, or data and grass? That's the question. So, yeah, game week 11 was tough for many managers. So, the good news is that things can probably only get better. Let's hope so. Today, we'll review how the week went for us and we'll look ahead to game week 12. So, Sertop, let's get it over with. Let's cover the painful part first. How did your game week go?
Well, my gaming went well compared to the field, I would say. I finished with
Yeah,
34 points. I mean, it's not a huge score, even compared to the average, but at least I'm above average. I was able to get a green arrow, so I
nice.
was happy. But
Yes.
yeah, it was a weird week though. Like most of my points came from essentially my goalkeeper, Ellison. He got 6 points despite
Yeah,
not keeping a clean sheet. But
I
that's
was
not what
surprised
I'm
about
gonna
that.
tell Leo when he grows up. I will tell him that, Ellison kept a clean sheet in this week. And Trippier got 9 points. So I was
Hmm.
saved essentially by these two players. So
Yeah,
Green Arrow, I mean 100K. I think
yeah,
I'm happy.
wow.
Yeah, how was
Yeah,
your week?
you should be. Yeah, the score wasn't too good, but as I said last week, did go to a game. I saw
Yes,
a
that
game
was going
live.
to
I was
ask.
at the Brentford game. We were in London with the family, and luckily I could get two tickets.
Before
Uh,
you go forward, like I was really upset to see that you bench Antonio, and I told
yeah,
myself he will definitely is getting a return, and he did.
it was a tough decision, but I thought there was a risk that Antonio might not start. So
Mm.
I was thinking, even though I'm going to the game, I'll bench him. Then he got an assist, so yeah, I was not so happy with that. But yeah, I'll cover it a bit later. I think overall, Antonio didn't impress at all. So
Mm-hmm.
I will sell him now. That's at least
after,
one
after
thing.
after watching him live, you
Yeah,
didn't
that's at
pass
least
your
one
eye
thing
test. You're
I took
saying?
out. No, I definitely didn't pass the eye test. But it was really nice to be there. And originally, actually, we wanted to go to the Fulham Man United game,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I couldn't find tickets, or to put it differently, I couldn't find affordable tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So then I switched focus, let's say, and I tried for the Brentford game. And yeah, we did get two tickets for that one. I went together with my son. And that was really nice, I must say. It's a really nice stadium. It's a nice area in London, and the atmosphere was pretty amazing. I was surprised because I was looking it up, and I didn't know the stadium is actually quite small. It's only 17,000 people.
Oh, really?
So
That is
yeah,
so
yeah,
small.
yeah. But the club, they're not so long in the Premier League, so I think it's actually quite a smart decision. Don't make the stadium too big. Make sure it gets sold out every week. And
Mm.
but in terms of atmosphere, I would say was more like 30,000 stadium. It was quite noisy. It
Mm-hmm.
was a really really good atmosphere. So kudos to the Brentford fans. Really, great support, and also a great game. And I'll probably cover a bit more of an eye test report later on. But first, in terms of my team, yeah, on Saturday it started quite well. I had Onana for the game against Fulham, and was happy that he kept a clean sheet. He didn't do more than that, unfortunately, so just 6 points. And on Saturday, I also had Shar and Mitoma, so they had like 5 and 6 points. So I had a decent start on Saturday. I was ready for Sunday and Monday, but then it kind of stopped in terms of points coming in. Not much more happened. So I had a total score of 28. Not great, but for this week, I think all the scores were pretty close. So I'm not too upset about it. I think it could even have been worse. As we talked last week, I think there were a few managers who triple captained Haaland.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I didn't do that. And Yeah, and beyond FPL, as I said, I think in terms of the games, it was quite nice. The Brentford game was amazing, and I was even better to be there live. But then there was also, of course, the Spurs game against Chelsea on Monday, and wow, man, that was maybe one of the most exciting games I've
Yeah.
ever watched. That was crazy,
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah,
It was
but
something
okay.
really.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it makes our the head-to-head score 6-5. So congratulations. After I was leading 5-2, if I remember well,
Hmm.
you caught up, and now you're leading 6-5. So I have to keep trying, and that's what I say every week. I'm not giving up.
Okay, maybe Wildcard will turn things around. I don't know if
Yeah,
then
I
you will
still
be
have it.
using
I still have it. I will still keep it. Let's see.
it.
But okay, that covers the game week from our side. Let's switch to the data side of things, and let's first again start with looking at the model performance.
Yes, certainly. So today we will talk about model accuracy again. We said we will be doing this maybe every month or so. So I just wanted to do it for the November. Um,
Okay.
So, and I also have data for the outcome accuracy. So we are comparing to what the projected points was and what the outcome was, and we are just
Yeah.
measuring how big the error. And so FBR review is the most accurate in this category, and then we have Mikhail Tokvam in the second place. Then we have Fantasy Football Scouts, Fantasy Football Fix, Draft Hound, and FPL Team.
Mhm.
And based on these results, actually, like we have seen this convergence happening already. We talked about it too. So I am using FBI review projections most of the time. I'm using Mikhail's model uh, mostly as a sense check right now. And
Mhm.
if I need to solve it longer than 12 game weeks, because sometimes you need to do it, especially like for me, I don't have a wild card anymore. So
Right.
I know that I will be keeping this team in a longer time horizon.
Yeah.
Then I use Fantasy Football Scout because the advantage is they have projections
Mm.
until the end of the season. So I'm
Right.
kind of like mixing review with Scout for my own
Yeah.
souls.
Yeah.
And also, we talk about the model utility measure. Again, this is
Yes.
the total points out of 45 players from every model
Okay.
and how many actual FPL points they have scored.
Yeah.
Um, so just like last week, Mikhail Tokmam's model is number one in this category. And then in the second rank, we have Fantasy Football Scout.
Yeah.
Then in the third rank, we have the ensemble model. So uh, ensemble model is the equal weighted average of all these models. And it
All
is a
right.
little bit surprising to see that ensemble model is doing pretty well. I mean, it's not
Mm.
exactly at the center, but it is doing well. It
Mm.
is 2301. And then
Yeah.
we have FPL review in the fourth place. Then we have Fix, Draft Hound, and FPL team. And we excluded Fantasy Football Hub in these both accuracy and also the model utility measure because we had an error when we were reading the values. I think last game week. That's why I also skipped Hub. So we will hopefully
Right.
fix it later, but that's why we don't have them here.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions, comments?
Not really. I think it confirms kind of what we also looked at in previous weeks, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, it's still great to keep track of this. So thanks for covering it.
Hmm.
Yeah, then the next one, as we do every week, let's take a look at the best and worst teams ranked by the offensive and defensive expected values for the next 6 game weeks.
Yeah, we have Arsenal at the first place now. So it seems like Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool. There, they keep changing. They keep getting
Yeah,
the top spot, and then it keeps
right.
changing.
Yeah.
Arsenal is at the top spot because they are playing against Burnley this game week, which is a very
Hmm.
favorable fixture both defensively and offensively.
Yeah.
So maybe there will be people who are captaining Arsenal players. We will see.
Yeah.
Um, and in the second rank, we have Manchester City. They're playing against Chelsea away. So, but in general, their horizon looks nice. They have some good fixtures coming up. And one interesting fact here is Manchester City's game against Tottenham in Game Week
Yeah.
14 is now a very
Yeah.
favorable fixture. We will probably talk about Tottenham and how they lost so many defenders and players. But both
Yeah.
defensively and offensively, that fixture makes it to the top 10 percentile.
Okay.
And then we at the third rank we have Liverpool playing against Brentford. It is a favorable fixture offensively, and besides the Manchester City game the following week, they have also two more good games. They are playing against Fulham in 14 and then Sheffield United in 15.
Right.
In fourth rank we have Newcastle, then Brighton, Tottenham, Manchester United, West Ham, Aston Villa, and finally Chelsea. They made it to the this best teams half of the chart finally, even though
Yeah.
they're playing against Manchester City, so it's not an easy fixture. Um, the reason why they are here now finally after so long is because Sheffield United fixture is at Gameweek 17 and it is
Yeah.
inside our like view period now.
Yeah.
So probably after their City game is over and also Newcastle, they have a good run after
Yes.
this horizon. So we will
Yeah.
probably see Chelsea increasing in the ranks. And I am also even considering to bring a Chelsea player. We will see though.
Yeah. No, definitely, and I think we mentioned that in previous weeks already. Even
Mm-hmm.
though we're looking quite far ahead, but we did see already that those easy fixtures will come up. As of, well, you could say game week 16. Well, probably not, because Everton is really improving. So really, as of game week 17 and the following game weeks, Chelsea has a really good run. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the people who got Palmer in their team got rewarded also, of course, in the game against Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Even though now Nkunku might be back after the
Yeah.
international break, and there were some questions about that, like which spot will he take, and is Palmer's spot still secure after Nkunku's return? I mean, to me, if you look at Palmer and how he's doing, it's quite difficult to imagine that he will be dropped. But yeah,
Yeah.
something to keep in mind. Yeah. Yeah, and Spurs, man, they're so good. But now, yeah, probably they lost Madison. We still need to wait for an injury update. Romero had a red card. Van de Ven, that looked like a pretty bad injury.
Mm-hmm.
And also, of course, Udogi with a red card. So
Yeah.
it's quite difficult to see, how they will do now during the next weeks.
Yeah. We will see.
But yeah, because like me, I had Pedro Porro in my team, and he had actually a great game against Chelsea, but it was only rewarded with 0 points. I thought he deserved a bit more,
Mm-hmm.
FPL wise, but that's how it goes. But now for the next game against Wolves, even though I like the game against Wolves, considering that they will miss so many players, I think I will probably bench Porro.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
since
have
you're
some
talking
data
about the
on
Wolves
it.
game,
Yeah,
so RobT FPL actually sent me
yeah,
the projected goals and clean sheet odds.
all right.
After he sent me, I asked him if there was an update to Tottenham's rates, like after the game, because
Yeah,
obviously it has huge implications to red cards and also injured players.
yes,
And he checked it from Monday to Tuesday. I mean, after they played the game,
yeah.
their goal rate dropped around 0.25, so it's the
Mm.
highest among all the teams for this
Yeah,
week. And
yeah,
also, Wolves' goal rate increased around 0.2, which
yeah,
is pretty major if you think about it. So almost their goal rates are getting closer. I mean, before this it was 1.1 versus 1.9, but it is now
yeah.
1.35 versus 1.7.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, they're almost their complete back line will be different, right? Like
Yeah,
Romero and Van de Ven will be out in the center, and also Udogi will not play.
yeah,
So yeah, they will have to replace three players in the defense.
hmm
So yeah, let's see. Difficult one to bet on. I also saw some people considering maybe to sell Son, saying if Madison doesn't play, maybe it's time to sell Son. So that's
hmm
another consideration.
yeah.
Personally, I will keep him though, but yeah. Okay, so yeah, we looked at the best teams. Let's also take a look at the worst teams.
Yeah, so at the top of this chart, we have Sheffield United. I think it was Luton Town for a long
Yeah,
time, right? So Sheffield
definitely.
United is at the top now because they have
Yeah.
Brighton game this week, which seems very unfavorable, and then Liverpool game week 15, and also Chelsea game week 17. Luton Town at the second rank, they are playing against Manchester United. That's also a tough fixture, and also Burnley is playing against Arsenal. It's also a tough fixture, and also they are the third team that's having the worst fixtures.
Yeah.
And then we have Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves, Everton, Crystal Palace, and Brentford. And
Hmm.
even though Brentford has a tough fixture this week against Liverpool away,
Yeah.
they still have the Luton Town in game week 14. So if you
Yeah.
have Brentford players, maybe it is worth also keeping your players. And also, they also have a Sheffield United game in game week 16. Even though it is not marked as a favorable fixture, not making to the top 10 percentile, it should be really close. So, I mean,
Yeah.
probably no one is actually considering to sell them, but I think you were thinking of buying Mubemo at one point. So are you
Yeah, I
planning
mean,
to
I
trade
don't
him?
have him now, and I think also other people who don't have him, I think they're looking now to game week 14 to have him
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, it's
Even
probably a
though
good
the
time to
people
do
who
it.
kept faith got rewarded also again in the previous game against West Ham, he had an
Yeah.
assist, and actually he should have gotten a bit more if he had a bit more luck. He had a few really good shots. So yeah, and I'll cover it a little bit later, but I was really impressed by Mabuemo.
So he
He's
passed your eye test.
Oh, definitely, man. He's really a great player. It was so nice. We were sitting in row three. We really had nice
Oh,
seats
wow.
at the side of the pitch, and yeah, at the first half, he was just playing in front of us, and it's amazing his first touch. Like every ball, no matter how it's played into him, easy or difficult, he just manages to control it,
Hmm.
and he's so fast. He has a great shot. I was really impressed. I think he will probably move to a big club next season because he's really a really good player. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. For the rest, I don't think there is too much to say about this chart. I think
Yes. Hmm.
the bottom teams, it seems to be quite obvious this season. The bottom three,
Yeah.
unfortunately, in terms of that, from that perspective. Even though Sheffield won their game last game week, so that's a good thing for them. But Luton and Burnley, also Luton actually, the draw against Liverpool was
Yeah.
a bit unexpected. But
It
as I
was.
mentioned last time, Luton at home, so far yeah, they lost, of course, a few games, but they didn't lose any with any big scores yet. And against Liverpool, even they got a draw. So I think the Luton at home fixture is not too easy. But then once they go away, probably becomes more like an easy fixture.
Hmm. Hmm.
And Burnley, I feel a bit sorry because, of course, they have a really good coach with company. I think everybody agrees on that, but they are just struggling as a team. So I wonder if they will still find a way to improve. Yeah. All right, so we covered this on a team level. Now let's look at it on a player level, and we'll take a look at the players who increased and dropped in terms of expected value.
Yeah. So in this chart, we are checking how the average, so equal weighted average of this ensemble model changes from
Yeah.
last deadline to now, like this morning.
Yes.
And so we have Ilanga from Nottingham Forest topping the chart with 4 EV increase over the next 6 game weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Kudus in second place from West Ham, and Lascelles in third place,
Yeah.
Mopey fourth, Van Bissaka fifth, and then we have Jackson, Nico Jackson, Eze, Doku, James, and Gordon at the
Mm-hmm.
bottom. So one of the major ones is Eze. This game week his EV increased 0.8 because I think
Yeah.
he's back.
He's back,
Um,
right? Yeah.
and yeah, that's the most significant one as far as I can tell.
Yeah, yeah. I think Kudus again, a player I saw live, and I know also from Ajax. At Ajax he was already quite impressive, And also in the game against Brentford, I think he was one of the better players in West Ham. He looks
Hmm.
really impressive. He's quite big, he's strong, he's fast. And as he showed, he can score some amazing goals. It's not the first time he did it. So I think if his spot is more secured now, then definitely Kudus could be an option to consider in the West Ham team.
Hmm.
The other one that I saw live was Mopai for Brentford, and
Yeah.
also he impressed me. I mean, maybe not in terms of goal scoring threat, but more in terms of the work that he put in. He played quite an important role. So maybe not so interesting from an FPL perspective. I wouldn't go there personally, but he did quite well in the team. And then, yeah, Nico Jackson with his hat trick. But even with the hat trick,
Didn't
he
feel like a
still,
hat trick, right?
no, he didn't look too impressive, did he? He still looks,
Yeah.
I don't know, he's a bit like a rough diamond. I think it's the phrase. He has the
Yeah.
speed, but I think he lacks a bit of skill and a bit of composure. But yeah, quite strange for me to say here. I mean, he's a Premier League player, so obviously he's a good player. But
Yes.
but just
Compared to
compared
the
to some other,
alternatives.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think. And again, as we said before, if Nkunku will come back, maybe he will get the number 9 spot.
Yeah.
Uh, Apparently, it's not his preferred spot, but it could be an option, I think.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and number 3, Lascelles from Newcastle. I think this has to do with the injuries from Burn and also Botman, who will be out longer than expected. So
Yeah.
I think Lascelles minutes just got more secure now. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, the top players, we covered those. Let's also take a look at the players that dropped in rank.
Yeah, we have Ruben Diaz in the first place. He lost
Okay.
around 3.1 EV over the next 6 game weeks.
Okay.
And in the second rank, we have Tsimikas, which is one of the
Hmm.
most transferred in players in last game week.
Yeah.
Maybe the
Yeah.
most transferred in, right?
Yeah.
Um, so he didn't start, so I think
No.
that's impacting his EV quite a bit. He lost
Yeah.
2.4 EV over the next 6 game weeks, which
Hmm.
is which is pretty upsetting for people who just transferred him in, like me.
Yeah. Yeah. Same for
And
me.
oh, you did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unlucky. And we have Zinchenko and Guardiol in fourth place. We have Holland fifth place because of the probably the injury
Dice.
status. Yeah, because
Yeah.
of the last game. Maybe models are not updated yet.
Yeah.
And then we have Madison. Again, his minutes are not certain this game week. I'm not sure actually. I feel like I saw something about him being okay, but maybe it was just
Okay.
a rumor.
Yeah.
And we have Varane in seventh place, and
Yeah.
Rashford, Joe Pedro, and Odegaard are the
Okay.
top EV losses.
Yeah. Yeah, Haaland, we didn't talk about it too much, but that was really frustrating for me as an owner, as a captainer. You think, I see you laughing. The Bournemouth game, that was marked in our calendars. That was the game for Haaland to do well. And then at halftime, it's a 3-0 score. You think that, okay, it's looking good. But he wasn't involved, no goal, no assist. And then second half starts and you see that he got subbed. So it's super frustrating. But luckily with Haaland, it's the case of, that a lot of people captained him. So yeah, the impact is not too bad. I had you in mind, of course, because Haaland was my bet against you to beat you. But
Yeah, that's true.
that was frustrating.
I mean,
But the good news is that yesterday he played in the Champions League and he scored 2 good goals. So
yeah,
looks like he's pretty fine, and let's hope he will be scoring some goals in the next Premier League game as well.
I hope not, but yeah, I understand why you want that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Even though on Saturday it looked good for you, but then Salah played and he didn't do much either on Sunday with 2 points.
Yeah,
So
that was
I think you were
upsetting.
hoping for more, right?
You were afraid that he will get lots of points, probably.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the game was very disappointing. I mean,
Yeah.
he also didn't play well. So, well, So I was kind of thinking I will get a red arrow this game week because of obviously Holland. So the fact that I didn't, and I also even got the green arrow. I
Yeah,
mean, I was fine with that. Well,
yeah,
obviously
for
very
sure.
unlucky for Holland owners, and
Mhm.
our decision to go without Holland was mostly because we used his funds in other places to improve
Yep.
the team overall. But for this
Yeah.
game week, I mean, we were already aware of the danger. But so I
Yeah.
was thinking maybe sometimes it is easier to bet against only a single player compared to a few players. Like if you're just taking a risk against the field with multiple players. That's like, for
Mhm.
example, like if you don't have three popular players, then you might be in big trouble because the
Yeah.
probability of all of them blanking is really low. But
Sure.
sometimes, you can get away with betting against a single player. And I
Yeah.
mean, it happened in a way that we bet against the most popular player this week
Mhm.
in terms of effective ownership too.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm happy. So I wasn't expecting the result, but I'm happy at the end.
No. Yeah, and also for me, you cannot really feel bad about the decision because the decision was right. Right,
Mm.
City plays against Bournemouth at home, so obviously you're captaining Haaland.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean, I would
that's
do
the
the
right
same
decision. And then
if I had him. Yeah.
the outcome wasn't as expected, but at least, yeah, that's football. That's variance. That's call it whatever you want. Bad luck, but in terms of decisioning, yeah, I
Yeah,
would do it again. But anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. So we covered a lot. I think I also covered most of my eye test report, what I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, Mbuemo, great player, and definitely I'll make sure I'll have him back for game week 14. The other player that stood out in Brentford, I didn't mention him yet, was Matthias Jensen,
Mm-hmm.
central midfield. He was also really a good player. Great to see him live, really the conductor of the team. Again, maybe not the best FPL option, as he's I think more like the pre-assister type of player. But
Mm-hmm.
even though he did score already quite some FPL points this season, but given all the options in midfield, I think probably it's understandable to look elsewhere. And then for West Ham, yeah, as I mentioned, Antonio, it's really strange because what was it 2 seasons ago at the start of the season that he was
Mm.
scoring a lot of goals and everybody
Yes, yes.
rushed to have him, but it
Him with
seems that
Bowen, I think, right?
yeah, it seems he completely lost it. He looked really kind of out of place when he got the ball. He lost the ball. It's yeah, well, he still got an assist and he was actually still quite close to scoring a goal. But for the rest, he really looked yeah, as I said, a bit out of place and out of confidence. So yeah, for me, that will be the one that I will sell this
Mm-hmm.
team this week. Sorry. Yeah, and Bowen scored a goal, but for the rest, I didn't notice him too much, so that's a bit strange. But he keeps scoring goals, so yeah, definitely
Yeah.
also a guy to keep on your radar. But overall, the conclusion for me to be at the game was just how impressive Brentford is in terms of how
Mm.
they play. They play some really good football, and even though the result was quite close, just 3-2, Brentford really outplayed West Ham. Really impressive, and Thomas Frank is doing a great job over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, one thing I noticed actually, if you go back one chart in the players
Yep.
that dropped in EV, I expected to see Turner, the goalkeeper of Forest, because
Mm.
he lost his spot. We were kind of expecting it because we know that Vlachodimos was on the bench.
Mm.
And he came in now last game week. So it looks like Turner lost his spot. And I think it's quite significant from an FPL perspective because just looking it up, he has an ownership of 16.7% Turner. So I think a lot
Oh,
of us,
okay. Oh, that's
yeah, yeah,
solid.
a lot of us, including me, we have him as the cheap bench option who can always come in as a playing option. But it seems he's not playing anymore. So that will, of course, have an impact in our teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, but yeah, I can
Yeah.
have a look.
Yeah, maybe his score prediction was already quite low.
Yeah,
Nottingham goal.
maybe.
Don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. Or maybe we'll see him next week. All right. So I think you had another chart. Yeah, top
Yeah.
player.
Yes, for the next 7 game weeks, I also prepared this top players by EV order because you talked about Bowen, so I thought it was kind of relevant.
Yeah, definitely.
So here, like one thing to note that the city has a blank, so that's why Haaland's EV a little bit lower. But at the first rank, we have Salah with 46 points
All right.
in average for the next 7 game weeks. And then we
Yeah.
have Haaland with 42 points, and then Son with 40, Saka at 37 points, Watkins at 35, Bowen 34, Bruno Fernandes 34, Rashford 32, Trippier 32, and Mitoma at 32 points. So these are the top 10 players by the equal average of all the models we have been following this season. But you look at the models individually, you can see some of the players that doesn't make to the top 10. And also in some models, Haaland is ahead of Salah. For example, Hub and FPL team thinks Haaland will outscore Salah in this next 7 game week horizon. But yeah, as you see, the values are close. Um, yeah, I think nothing too interesting in my opinion.
No.
Rest we kind of expect already.
Yeah, indeed. I think the only thing, yeah, what we could say about Bowen, as we just discussed, keep an eye on Kudus. If I think it could be interesting if Kudus gets the number 9 spot from
Mm-hmm.
Antonio. Then he's out of position because in FPL he's a midfielder. We're just looking at it, 6.5 million versus Bowen, 7.5 million. I mean, so far Bowen has been scoring most of the goals, but if Kudos moves to number 9, that might make an impact. So
Okay. Okay.
maybe something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
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 All right, excellent. So we covered a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move to the optimal team for this week.
Yeah, certainly. So again, I'm checking the different data sources for different horizon length based on how many game weeks of data they provide. And also, people were kind of complaining about me using my own team value because when I do it, my
Right.
team value is higher, obviously, so I get better teams that they cannot
Yes.
afford.
Yeah.
So I decided to run it for a team value of 101 because most of the engaged
Okay.
managers are already increased their team value a little bit.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
because it is the budget is tighter than my own team, there are some interesting choices the model is doing here.
Mm.
So in most models actually dropped Salah, it seems, which seemed weird to me. But so
Hmm.
we only see Salah in Mikhail Toklam's model for 7 game week horizon, and also Fantasy Ball Fix has Salah where when you solve it for 8 game weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But Scout, Hub, and Review they don't have Salah, and interestingly, they have triple forwards.
Right.
For example, I see Darwin, Haaland, and Wilson in Hub's model, and
Yeah.
also Watkins, Alvarez, and Haaland in Review's model.
Yeah.
That seemed interesting. And also Tsimikas was almost in all optimal wildcard teams. That's no
Yeah.
longer the case. I only see
Oh, okay.
Tsimikas in FBI Review's model, even though he
Right.
was the enabler for a good team.
Yeah.
That seems like no longer the case.
Yeah.
So there are a few things I want to talk about these optimal teams. Let me uh, talk about one of them, the entire full team. So FBI Review's team uh,
Yeah.
is composed of Flecken and Leno in goal. And in defense, it has Gabriel, Saliba, Dunk, Colville, Tsimikas. And in midfield, we have Saka, Mubemo, Eze, Son, Diaby. And in forward, we have Watkins, Alvarez, and Haaland.
Yeah.
Um, so I see Gabriel in some of these models. I think 3 of them have him
Right.
in the optimal squad, but I'm not really sure about his minutes. Minutes
Hmm.
like I keep getting Gabriel as a suggestion from the model for my move this week,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure. So because of his minute uncertainty, I might be even banning him from the solves. I
Okay.
don't know what the alternative would be from the solver as a suggestion, but yeah, I find him a little bit risky.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, and
talked
you also
about
see that there are some alternatives in some of the models. You see White and you see Saliba, so that's of
yeah,
course the other option that you go to for one of
yeah.
them.
Even though like Saliba is more
Yeah,
expensive option.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so well, there's a nice trade-off there, right? So either you can buy the player who's more nailed for more
yeah,
money,
yeah.
or you can, risk it with a
Take it
cheaper
back.
option. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I talked about no Salah, I talked about triple forwards, which seemed interesting because since the beginning of the season, it was almost always 3-5-2, almost every game week. And
Mm-hmm.
now I see triple forwards
Yeah.
suddenly.
Yeah.
And also, I think last week it was mostly the same triple forwards. This time it is different. Like I see Ferguson in two models, both Scott and Fantasy Football Fix.
Yeah.
Have him, and also I see Antonio in Fix's
Yeah.
model, which seemed interesting.
I just
Yeah,
noticed it as well. Oh my god.
maybe you need to
Well,
keep him
the
in.
fixtures are good. That's also why I had Antonio. That was one of my considerations. He's cheap and the fixtures are good, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I
he's
don't.
just not delivering. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And also another thing I noticed is the goalkeeper situation. It was almost like Areola was everywhere in the last game week when we sold it. He's only in one team this time around, and also every model has a different goalkeeper pair. So we have Leno Areola from Mikel,
Yeah.
Sanchez, Johnston from Scout, Raya Sanchez from Hub, Flecken and Leno from Review, and Leno and Ellison from Fantasy Football Fix. So it
Hmm.
seems like there's no. Well, obviously there are different budgets at play here, but there's
Yeah.
no consensus to goalkeeper pairs from models.
Yeah, I think if people can wait with making a swap, and you can wait for the Chelsea fixtures to turn, to the green side, let's say, then Sanchez definitely becomes like an interesting option
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because defensively Chelsea has been doing quite well this season.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
Areola again, yeah, quite cheap
mhm.
and good fixtures, but so far I think West Ham only kept one clean sheet, so
Yeah, some
they're
people were
conceding
talking
quite a lot.
about the West Ham's defensive performance not being that good, even though
No.
the fixtures are. Yeah, and also another interesting thing here is, well, I talked about how Fantasy Ball Fix has Ellison. Part of the reason I think is it doesn't have Holland in the optimal wildcard team,
Right.
so that's the only model doesn't have Holland, and
Yeah.
instead it has Watkins, Ferguson, and Antonio in forward. But with that money, it actually spends for the midfield. We have like Saka, Mubemo, Mitoma, Salah, Son. Pretty
Hmm.
strong, and it also has Trippier, which is the premium defender option, and also premium goalkeeper as the Alisson.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's also an interesting idea, I guess. But other models, they usually, let me see. I think two of them has Palmer. We talked about Palmer and also the risk of him maybe losing minutes when Kunku is back after an
Yeah.
international break, which which is the holdout for me because I was also getting the suggestion of buying Palmer. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure if I want to risk it. I feel like I'm very like risk averse at this point.
Okay.
I just want to buy players who will stay in the team for sure
Yeah.
for a long time.
Right.
Also, given the fact that I don't have my wild cards, but maybe
Right.
for people like you, I mean, you can probably take some risks with some of these
Yeah.
players.
Yeah. Yeah. As we said earlier, I think it will be really surprising if Palmer is dropped, considering how he's playing so far. But yeah, you never know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. Covered a lot of options. So this gives us again some food for thought to
Hmm.
consider for our transfer plans. And yeah, let's cover the last data point as we always do, and that's the captaincy options. And I think this week could be again a difficult decision, right?
Yeah, so we have Salah at the first place and then
Okay.
Saka at the second place. There's almost like zero point 0.6 EV between them, so Salah is clear, I think. And
All
then we
right.
have Bruno Fernandes in the third place because they have a good fixture. They are playing against Luton Town. then
Yeah.
comes Haaland, then comes Son. Haaland's
Hmm.
place here is impacted by the lower expected minutes. We have seen a little bit ago that his
Yeah.
EV, dropped a little bit. But some of
Mm-hmm.
these models haven't updated after the Champions League game. So
Right.
there is a chance that he will be higher. But still, I think
Yeah.
Salah has the highest projected points for this game week.
Okay.
And yeah, so people were also kind of playing with the idea of, setting some of the players to 90 minutes in FPL
Okay.
reviews tool and see who comes up on top.
Yeah.
I think some of those are close, but I don't know. I feel like Salah will be at the top by the time we reach the deadline.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Saka is also an interesting option, I guess, for people who has him.
Yeah, indeed. So, do you know already what you will do this week in terms of transfers and captaincy?
I'm in a tough place because I have only one free transfer, which I
Okay.
didn't spend my two free transfers, but um, and also the fact that Burn is out, and he might get a price drop.
Okay.
So selling Burn for a player like Colville makes sense, and also because Chelsea has good fixtures after this visible horizon,
Right.
could be a good long-term investment, and I could also avoid the price drop because I don't have anything in the bank. So I'm in a tough spot because of it. I was planning to sell medicine last game week, or maybe the game week before. Sorry, it's just funny to me that he was supposed to be already gone, but now he's stuck in my team. Like, I just hope that he's fine and he can keep scoring, keep getting points.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, a defense transfer is probably needed. And sometimes I also see Gabriel as a suggestion, as I mentioned, but
Right.
I'm not really sold on that.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, I actually did my transfer already because
You
I
did?
was, I was quite sure that I wanted to sell Antonio, and
Oh,
I
after
went
watching him,
for
obviously.
yeah, and I went for Nketiah for
Oh,
Arsenal. So
oh,
I know there
nice.
are some risks there in terms of fitness, but yeah, I'll just take a bet. They have a really good fixture against Burnley at home, and yeah, just thought that to go for it. And Nketiah was increasing in price yesterday, so that's why I decided to pull the trigger yesterday evening, made the swap. And in terms of captaincy, actually, I don't know yet. So currently, I have it on Saka, but I'm not too convinced about it. I think Haaland, Salah, and for me also Mitoma could be three good options, and I don't know yet how I will decide. So let's see.
That's tough. I mean, the fact that um, you have all the good options, I guess. Salah, Haaland, Saka.
Yeah, I was reading some stats today. I think especially Salah's home record is pretty good. So
Hmm.
Liverpool at home against Brentford might be the safe bet, I guess. But
Yeah.
I also quite like Mitoma against Sheffield at home. But let's see. Brighton still play against Ajax tomorrow for the Europa League. So let's see how they will do there and if Mitoma is playing. I'm pretty sure he will be.
Hmm.
So then there could be maybe some risk in terms of his starting spot.
Hmm.
So yeah, maybe Salah, but also Haaland. We saw again yesterday he scored 2 goals in the Champions League.
Hmm.
So yeah, even against Chelsea he can do the same.
Yeah.
Difficult, difficult.
It is.
All right. Well, I wish everybody good luck, of course, with making those decisions. I think we're close to the end of this podcast. Was there anything else you wanted to cover, Sertalp?
Your jersey, obviously, is our closing
Oh, my
topic.
jersey. Okay, okay. Yeah, I'm prepared now. Now these times, I know that you will ask. So I looked it up, and actually, I mentioned it to you before the pod. I'm a bit surprised because apparently this is a rare shirt. It's a
Ah,
Parma
okay.
shirt. Currently, this I'm looking at a site and it has a price of 177 euros. So maybe I should be
Oh,
selling
okay. Yeah.
it. It's 95, 96 jersey. And maybe, I don't know if people who are listening remember or know that Parma was actually quite a big club at that time. They had some pretty famous players. I was just looking at it earlier as well. You know, they had Buffon in goal, they had Crespo as attacker, they had Zola, they had Veron, they had yeah, a lot of well-known and impressive players. And yeah, it was a big club. So at that time, I think my parents went to Italy for a holiday, and my mother brought back this shirt. So I was quite happy with that. So that
Yeah, yeah,
explains the Parma
yeah,
shirt.
yeah. I remember, yeah, Parma from my childhood. I mean, I kept hearing
Okay.
their name, but I didn't know that they had the bankruptcy and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. After that, they had a bankruptcy, and they was set, or they had to go to a lower league. So that was a bit the end of
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that covers it, I think. So let's finish by looking at our mini league. We currently have 331 teams in it, so it keeps
Oh,
going up. That's nice to see.
nice.
Thanks everyone for joining, and you can still join if you want to. The code is 0JSDLA. And again, a big shout out to the 9 year old Wyatt Haswell. Wyatt, if you're listening, it's amazing what you're doing. Keep it up. This week, the shout out is even more deserved as Wyatt is number one in our mini league. He had a game week score of 53 points, and he is on a total score of 764 points. And Sertalp is actually showing it for people watching it on YouTube. His OR is now 164, so
That's
really
impressive.
impressive.
Yeah.
Keep it up, Wyatt. Number two is Keegan Stevenson with his team Space Monkey FC. He has a total score of 754 points. And number three is Jay Hampson with the team Two Face, also doing really well, and a score of 752 points. Congratulations to all three of you. All right, well, let's close this episode. Thanks for listening. This was FPL Optimized episode number 65. Good luck with making your Game Week 12 decisions, and may your arrow be green. Next week is an international break. We still need to decide what we will do, but please just subscribe to the podcast so you'll get notified when the next episode is released. And do follow us on Twitter. For Sertalp, it's at Sertalp Bilal. And for me, it's at Belfi BB. And as you probably know by now, you can also find us on YouTube.
And until next time, stay curious and stay analytical. Goodbye.
Goodbye.